food science, and that still blows my mind today. And I find food science so interesting that when I decided to take ISR, I knew right away that I wanted to do a project on food science. And I I really love cheese a lot. I love it so much that I often joke that if I was lactose intolerant, I don't know what I would do because I really like cheese. So I decided to create a lactose-free cheese product to kind of solve my my fear. Lactose intolerance is caused by an enzyme lactase deficiency in your digestive system. Enzyme lactase is an enzyme that breaks up the lactose sugars that you find in dairy products into monosaccharides, glucose, and galactose, which are much easier for your body to process. This lactose intolerance affects 68% of people globally, so that's over half of the world is affected to some degree by lactose intolerance. So there are two solutions if you're lactose intolerant and you still want to eat dairy products. Either you can take an acid lactase supplement, which will supplement the lactose into your digestive system, or you can buy and consume lactose-free dairy products, which have been treated with an enzyme lactase prior to packaging so that there's no lactose in them. So when I started my project, I had to make sure that this wasn't already a product that you could buy. And I did not come across any lactose-free mac and cheese products. However, I did come across a lot of dairy-free mac and cheese products. And there is a difference. Lactose-free is not dairy-free. It still contains dairy products. However, the lactose has been removed. So while dairy-free product would technically be lactose-free because it contains absolutely no dairy and lactose is only found in dairy products, it doesn't have any dairy products in it. And if you're lactose intolerant, you might still want to consume dairy products because in the end, it just comes down to personal preference that real cheese probably tastes better than the imitation cheese that they try to make for the mac and cheese. So that's why I decided that this was in fact an important product to be created. So my hypothesis was that if lactose hydrolysis techniques are applied to a cheese-based sauce, then a potable lactose-free cheese product can be created for use in a boxed macaroni and cheese. So my basic process that I went through over and over again the entire semester was making a batch of my mac and cheese sauce and then tasting it and seeing like the viscosity and the texture, and then deciding how I would adjust my ingredients the next time, because I would use the same ingredients every single time. I would just adjust the amounts based on each ingredient's function and their properties and how they would alter the finished product. Like for example, if I noticed that there was some like residual oil that wasn't fully incorporated, I might add more sodium citrate because it's an emulsifying agent, which will break up the casein proteins found in the cheese and allow those proteins to better grab onto the oil and the water and create a more stable emulsion and a nice, smooth, homogeneous sauce. So the process was pretty straightforward. It really isn't that different from what you might do in your own kitchen when you're cooking. I would put water and starches in a double boiler and mix it up. Then I would add my dry ingredients. Then this entire time I would be heating it, and once it reached 160 degrees Fahrenheit, I would add my oil, then my cheese. Once the cheese had melted, I would blend the mixture for 30 to 60 seconds on low to create a nice, really just incorporate everything and fully mix it. And once that was done, I would continue heating it until it reached 185 degrees Fahrenheit, at which point I would take it off the heat and store it in the refrigerator to cool. And it was very important that it was cool for the next step, which was adding the enzyme, because the manufacturer of the enzyme that I used, Novozyme, recommended that it be processed at refrigeration temperatures and that 1.1 grams be added to the product and that it sit for 24 hours in a refrigerator. So once those 24 hours had elapsed, I would take my product out and transfer it to canning jars and kind of simulate the processing conditions of making it shelf-stable that they would do at like an industrial plant that would be making this sauce. So I put it in the pressure cooker at high pressure for 15 minutes. This heat would both denature and deactivate the enzyme so it would no longer be working, and it would also kind of completely seal the container, hopefully, and make the product shelf stable. So a very important part of my project was actually proving that I had removed the lactose, and I could do this by proving that there was now glucose in my sauce because the lactose would be broken up into the glucose and the lactose. So I attempted to use a blood glucometer, which is intended for diabetic patients to test their blood glucose levels. However, since I'm working with cheese and not blood, it didn't work. So I had to kind of mess around with it, and I found out that by diluting my sample with water and then spinning it down in a centrifuge, I was able to extract a layer that contained mostly water and the sugar. And I was then able to test this layer, the water layer, for glucose, and I was able to come up with a reading. And because I made all these modifications to the sample, I wasn't really able to find out exactly what the concentration of glucose was. However, I was able to prove that the lactose was removed to some degree. So these are just some pictures showing how my sauce evolved. You can see in the beginning it looks really gross. I had to taste it. It was not good, but I did it. And you can see by the end it looks like, say, Velveeta or some other processed cheese product that you would find in your grocery store. So the final formula, ta-da! And so it looks, as you can see, it looks exactly like any other mac and cheese that you would buy at the grocery store. My mentor, Emily Ochu, helped me create this nutrition facts label. Sadly, it's not 80 calories for the entire mac and cheese, it's just for the sauce, but it still gives us a good idea of what is in the mac and cheese. And I made that box for myself just for fun, just as a fun little extra detail. And I was able to send my final product to a lab to have sugar testing done on it through the International Food Products Company. And the results came back that there was less than 0.5 grams of lactose per 100 grams of my product. And we decided that it was credible and honest to say that this was lactose-free based on the FDA guideline for sugar-free, which was that there is less than 0.5 grams of sugar per serving. So since there's 63 grams of my sauce in a serving, and that's less than 100 grams, so there's far less than 0.5 grams of lactose in a serving of my mac and cheese sauce. So I feel that I successfully made it lactose-free. So next I did a sensory survey with some of my classmates. I had them taste the mac and cheese, and then I asked them if they would eat it again, and 100% of them said yes. So I thought that was a great success. Then I asked them to evaluate this flavor, texture, and overall appearance on a 7-point scale. And as you can see, the pink and the purple are the dominant categories, the dominant responses. And those are like moderately and like very much. So the majority of people liked the product to some degree. So I decided that I had in fact created a potable lactose-free cheese sauce. So now where do I go from here? Well, when I was doing the survey and for my own personal tasting of it, I still believe that it could be cheesier. So I would like to continue to work with it and revise it and make it cheesier and just make it taste better. I also thought maybe I could fortify it with calcium and or protein so that it was a healthy option instead of just being mac and cheese, which is mostly like carbs and fat. And also, maybe, since this is a product, I could go on Shark Tank. Who knows? It could happen. So I would like to thank the International Food Products Company, but especially my mentor, Emily Ochu, for helping me so much. She helped me get my ingredients. She talked me through the whole process and gave me tons of awesome advice every time I ran into a problem. I couldn't have done this project without her. And Mrs. Ryan for being an amazing advisor and keeping us on track and making sure we knew what we were doing, because honestly, I wouldn't have known what was going on if she wasn't there. Corey for actually offering this class, so I had the opportunity to do this project, and my classmates for participating in my survey and putting up with my cheese when I kept putting it in the senior fridge. And also my mother for just being there and supporting me when I would come home and be really frustrated because my cheese wasn't tasting good or something. Yeah. So that's all I have.